Good morning and welcome to the first in our webinar series of When Your Income Drops. Let us know that you are here and joining us this morning by putting your name or saying hi or giving us a thumbs up to let us know that you're here and watching. And welcome also to those of you who are joining us as a recording. We're glad to see you too. My name is Megan Brothers, and I'm the Health and Human Sciences Educator for Purdue Extension in Vanderburgh County.
Good morning. I'm Jo Gilreath. I'm the HHS Educator in neighboring Warren County. So we want to thank you, first of all, for being here this morning. A loss of income can happen anytime, but it is especially true right now with the COVID pandemic. So that is why Megan put together this three-part series, because we know people are having their financial situations impacted. We are here today as educators to share research-based information to help you in your process. We are not financial advisors. We do have additional resources we can share with you as needed after today's presentation and in the coming weeks. Because so many families are experiencing a loss of income, we want to talk about ways that you can take control if your income is dropping. So it is a process. It begins with you. We're glad you're here listening. You may want to get out a piece of paper or your keyboard to jot some notes down. Not exactly what we are saying word for word, but any key concepts or takeaways, any aha moments, any goals that you think about that you want to set for yourself as you listen today. Or you can just sit back, relax, and listen. Megan mentioned we are recording this and it's available to watch later on the Facebook feed. We do have a few learning objectives for you. We want to help you increase your sense of control over your financial situation. We want you to increase your understanding of making a spending plan, and we want to help you set priorities and be able to differentiate needs versus wants. So as we go, I want to first set the stage a little bit. So on our next slide, we're highlighting the unemployment insurance claims that were made in the state of Indiana in the month of March. At the top, the first week of March listed, you will see that claims were around 2,200. And that was actually down about 21% from the same time last year. So Indiana was doing really good. But remember all that happened in March? If you just go down to that bottom line, the last week of March, which followed Governor Holcomb's stay-at-home order, you see that the unemployment insurance claims jumped to over 140,000. Compared to the previous year, that was an increase of over 6,700%. So we're sharing this for a couple reasons. One, we are in unprecedented time and you are not alone. We also want to thank you for being open, being vulnerable, and taking this step towards honestly looking at your financial situation. So our next slide, at the top, it says pretty simply, don't panic, take control. Now, we know that's not so simple. We're going to talk about some different ways that you can help reduce your panic and reduce your stress, because panic does bring stress. Stress robs us of our energy and it distracts us from problem solving. So we need to decrease that stress. It goes without saying that you did not choose to have a loss of income. However, and I want you to remember this, you can choose how you respond to the circumstances, and that control will help you. I know it sounds simple, it's complicated. So how to start? The first, you are here. That is a step. You are acknowledging the circumstances. You are looking for information and resources to guide you. You're having to ask yourself some questions, probably like, okay, what exactly is happening? What does this really mean for me, for us? What are the facts? And while you're doing that, you're probably also having some feelings come in to the picture too. Feelings go along with any stressful circumstance. We are human beings, and human beings are emotional beings. So we have feelings. If you have not already had like a pity party or vented about the feelings you're having related to COVID, to teleworking, to virtual learning, to childcare responsibilities, you need to do so. You need to let those feelings out. Just do it in a safe and appropriate way. Feelings are very important to be aware of. So you want to identify them, you want to own them, you want to let them go. You don't need to judge them. They're not right or wrong. They just are. But we kind of want to separate them out from the facts. Both are important, and you need to honor both and be aware of both. But there is a reason to separate the feelings from the facts. It can be conflicting or confusing, and sometimes feelings don't define reality. Sometimes they influence our thought processes in a way that actually increase stress. And remember, the whole goal is to decrease stress. The other aspect you're going to want to be doing for taking control is to be having some open and honest communication with your loved ones and yourself. The stressor known as the COVID pandemic is going to forever be a significant life event for everybody, all ages. It's unfortunately requiring us to focus on money management practices that we didn't need to before. However, if I can put a little spin on it, this new life experience is an opportunity to build character, to improve coping skills, and it provides teachable moments right now to family members and to children. It also creates an opportunity to develop some new lifelong healthy behaviors related to financial management, such as talking openly about money. So I can't see you or hear your responses. I can see Megan, so I'll see her responses, but I'm going to ask you all out there, how many of you grew up in a family where money was openly talked about? How many of you learned some things about money management that you're using now later in life that was a benefit of having those conversations? How many of you grew up in a family where you really didn't talk about money? How many of you wish that your parents had talked a little bit more and taught you some things about finances? And right now, in your current family setting, does your family communicate about money in a way that you wish they did? It's safe to say that in most families, money is not talked about openly. It can be a taboo subject, often one that is uncomfortable or a source of conflict. But talking about money is a valuable life skill. And let's face it, finances are a part of life, COVID or no COVID. There's no getting around it. So why not learn how to have conversations? You may need to have some difficult conversations that you've not had in the past. Might take you out of your comfort zone. But this is a self-improvement skill. And if you have children, please know that they can be included in age-appropriate conversations about money and finances. They can actually offer a unique perspective sometimes on ideas for change, and they can play a role in the plan that your family has to come up with. The state of Indiana actually has academic standards that start in the 3rd grade that correspond with students learning basic financial management skills. And 3rd grade is like age 8, so that's pretty young. So again, it is okay to talk to children in age-appropriate words and information. Purdue Extension has a program called Captain Cash, for example, that targets 3rd graders, and it's centered on the concept of 4 financial concepts: earning, spending, saving, and borrowing. And in fact, the bottom line of what we're going to be talking about today and the next 2 weeks about you taking control of your financial situation has to do with those 4 concepts: earning, spending, saving, and borrowing. Due to the COVID activity restrictions right now for face-to-face, Purdue Extension educators have actually made some virtual lessons of the Captain Cash, and they're available for families to do together with any age. So you can contact Megan or I after today's presentation, and we'll give you information on how to access those 4 free lessons. So as the kitty shows on the screen, don't panic. Everything's going to be okay as you start to acknowledge and separate feelings from facts and start communicating. Things may be different, but they're going to be okay. So the next slide, in terms of taking control, where are you at? We've got you not panicking, you're acknowledging the situation, you're exploring the feelings, and you're talking. Great. Now you're going to need to manage your stress. And you're probably thinking, I thought this webinar was about managing my finances. It is. But to manage your finances, you first are going to need to manage your stress. It's empowering. Remember when I said you may not have chosen to have a drop in income, but you can choose how you respond. Bingo. You are taking control. So stress is a normal part of our life, and it has probably increased with your income drop. This graph here shows you just a typical physiological response that the body goes through when we have stress. It triggers alarm, also known as the fight or flight syndrome, and we react with some resistance and usually implement some problem-solving skills, and we enter into a recovery phase. We're still on high alert, but we're able to resist the stress, and we then do okay. If we don't resist the stress, it takes us to the other end of the phase of exhaustion. And it's well known that bad stress, unmanaged stress, or exhaustive stress can lead to the onset of a variety of physical and mental health conditions. So that's why people are always encouraging everyone to manage their stress. Unmanaged stress can lead to high blood pressure, headaches, migraines, depression, back issues, stomach issues, weight loss, weight gain, sleep issues, dependency on alcohol and drugs. It can create a drop in immune system, resulting in getting more colds and illnesses. So obviously we do not want these things to happen to you. So maintain your stress and keep it on that safe end. So how to do that? The next slide, well-being, managing your well-being could be a whole presentation, a whole hour in itself. So I'm just going to make a few highlights, and we acknowledge that this is not easy and there are no quick fixes. So you are going to have to be patient with yourself, try some things, but give it time. Research does show us that the following help. Let go of blame. Do not blame yourself for what has happened. There is no going back. You can only move forward. And think about, what are you going to do next? Oh, and blaming others doesn't help either. So just let go of blame, period. If you hang on to it, it's going to rob you of that energy and focus. While you're letting go of the blame, go ahead and let go of anxiety and anger. Do not keep those feelings bottled up. Talk about your problems with your family or someone close to you. Many of them are in the same situation and have empathy and can understand. You are not alone. Bottled up emotions can lead to depression, and again, some of those health issues. If you're not a talker, write it out. Journaling is a great activity to release things. You can also release through physical activity. Be honest about your situation, about any anger, hurt, or confusion. And as I mentioned on the last slide, you're going to want to separate the feelings from the facts. Keep yourself occupied, active, and involved. Yes, right now we have to be practicing social distancing, but that doesn't mean you have to be socially isolated. There is a difference. Today is a good example. You're connecting with others without even leaving the house. And we hope you feel better being with others this morning. If you are currently out of work and have more time to think and worry, you're going to have to redirect that mental energy into some problem solving and healthier behaviors. Important to be making a schedule and a routine for yourself every day. And by all means, get showered and dressed every day. Something as simple as that does make a difference. Very important right now to be getting good nutrition and exercise. Purdue Extension is sharing lots of information on cooking from home because that's something people are doing more of right now. Maintaining good nutrition does not need to cost more money. Actually, planning ahead, prepping your food, avoiding convenience foods and restaurants can save you money, and it's better nutrition. Exercise right now to help you stay fit or reduce tension. It also helps self-esteem and mood. Now, you know yourself best, and so I'm going to encourage you to make a list of what helps you and what doesn't help you. When it comes to stress management and wellness, what do you know helps you? What do you know doesn't help you? Why do you not do the things that help you? And why do you continue to do the things that you know don't help you? You're going to have to ponder on those questions, and I encourage you to reflect on the answers and make a list and then use it of the do's and the do nots. Also very important right now to have a positive attitude and reframe any negative thoughts. Our mental messaging is very powerful. And when negative thoughts enter your mind, you can manage your stress by reframing the thought into a positive or encouraging statement. Kind of like looking for the silver lining. And so let's try it. Right now, pick a thought that has been running through your mind that is negative related to your financial situation. Might be something like, I can't go out to eat. I don't know what to do about Christmas presents. I don't have enough money in my checking account to pay the utility bill that's due next week. Probably some kind of negative thought going through your mind. Now, I want you to pause and reframe that thought into a positive thought. And it's not easy to do. I admit it. It does get easier with practice, though. And let's say here's an example. Let's say I told myself, can't afford to go out to eat right now. I'm actually kind of frustrated and a little angry that can't just run down to Bonefish. I love their sashimi and food there, but now is not a good time to do that. And now is also not a good time for me to lose my script in front of me. See, we're having to be very patient. So when I get frustrated with my technology skills right now due to COVID, I just tell myself, Joe, you've always had it on your to-do list to learn more about technology and get a little more tech savvy. So I'm having to do that right now. So back to my other example. So I can't go out to eat. So what I'm going to reframe that to say is, darn, I can't go out to Bonefish tonight. I really do love their food. But, you know, I do have a stocked pantry. My husband went to the grocery store yesterday. I have an extra 40 minutes today because I didn't have to commute to the office, and I can make a meal. And I'm not going to go hungry. I have the time. I have the food. And it actually will probably be more nutritional for me. So I already feel better saying that. So do a little practicing with reframing any negative thoughts into positive ones. It goes back to choosing to take control about what is happening. So that brings us to the end of the feelings section of today's presentation. And I'm going to turn it over to Megan, and she's going to take a look at the intellectual approach to making your plan. Thank you for being here. Take care.
Thank you, Joe. So after we have assessed our stress level and looked at how we can take control back, what's our next step? So it's a very difficult first step, but it's a very, very important first step, and that is to determine your net worth. And that's a scary phrase. It's something that we are very good at avoiding because we don't want to really think about what we have. But we do need to look at what we have and where we are to get a starting place. We need to know where we're starting so we can then take steps forward to improve or change what our situation is. So that's looking at our assets. Everything that you own, including the money in your checking account and savings accounts, your property, if you own a car, if you own a house, anything that you own is included in your assets. Things like your, and then you subtract your liabilities, and those are the things you owe on. So those are your debts. That could be car loans or house mortgages or rent, or anything with insurance, different claims, your credit card debt, anything like that. And it's important to really, really take a look at that whole picture to, again, get a starting place of where we are. It is a difficult task and sometimes takes a little work too, to really look at everything that we have as an asset. It's pretty easy for us to look at our liabilities because those are usually what we are trying to lower or change. But taking a really good hard look at what we do have as our assets. You might be a little surprised at what all you have. The second thing that's important to look at is to create a spending savings plan. And this information is taken and shared from our Family Resource Management educators with Purdue Extension. And part of this is from one of our programs that's called Where Does Your Money Go? It's a really great program for having an in-depth, interactive look at your finances. We are not able, obviously, to provide those classes in person at the moment, but those are available. We are working on creating online capabilities for that programming. So keep your eye out, contact Joe or I or your local extension educator to learn more about that program. Because the spending savings plan, which many of us know as a budget, is really, really important next step. And sometimes it's brand new and you've never created a spending savings plan, or you have to revise it due to circumstances, due to loss of income, or just changes in circumstances. Sometimes when we move or we adjust things in other ways, it can cause us to need to relook at these spending savings plans. So these are ongoing documents. This is not a one time I'm going to create it and be done. It should be something that you have conversations with your family or whoever you live with or share money with or work with, so that you can make sure that everyone knows what is needed and what needs to be done to address and look at things. So when we're looking at our spending savings plan, we need to look at what we're bringing in. So we have to know how much money we have to spend on whatever we need. So that can include wages or unemployment benefits if wages have been lost. But it can also include things like our SNAP benefits, WIC benefits, child support or alimony payments, anything that you have coming in. Even if you are a crafter and you're selling some of your crafts, that's part of your income. So take some time and really look at everything that's coming in for you and write that as your income. There is a spending savings plan template that we have available for you. We can provide that. There's all kinds of ways. This is one example. There's all kinds of ways to do this. You can just take a notepad and write it all out as well. But having this template helps you think through all of those potential things that could be your income sources, and especially with expenses, looking at all of those things. So we like using the templates because it helps give us some extra things to think about, but it's not required. So contact us if you're interested in that. We go through it in great detail in our Where Does Your Money Go program. Once we determine our income, then we need to look at our expenses. And there's a couple different types of expenses. We have our regular expenses, which are the things that we spend every month. So those are things like rent, house payment, car payment, our electric and sewer and water bills, our utilities. If we have phone, if we have cable or internet, those are our monthly bills that come out regularly. We know what they are in general. They may not be the same every single month, but they should still be able to get an idea of about how much they are every month. And if you need to round up, it's better to round up a little bit than to round down and underestimate. So you can always, if you really want to get a good idea, you can look at a year's worth of your bills for especially things like your electric or your water that might fluctuate a little bit month to month. So take a look at a 6-month or even a year-long amount and look at that average. How much on average are you spending on those utilities each month to get a good idea? In addition to those regular things that we know are coming out every month or every week or whatever that payment cycle is, we also have to think about and look at those occasional expenses. And those are things like our insurance. Sometimes insurance is a monthly expense, and sometimes it might be a 6-month or even a yearly expense. Things like property taxes, those are twice a year. Those are not every month. So we do need to account for those things when we're creating a spending savings plan so that we don't come to when those are due and have nothing. It allows us to look at putting a little money away to be able to pay for those things when that comes up. So it does take some time. There is a lot involved. Let me show you an example of the template. It is very small on the screen here, but there's a lot of things that we think about. Things like our food, not just looking at our grocery bill, but also all those trips to McDonald's or to the gas station to get a drink or a snack. All of those are things that we're spending money on, and those should go on our expenses. So we can have an idea of about how much we spend each month on groceries and eating out, but that will go on your spending savings plan. But if you're not sure, then it's a really good idea to track your expenses. So that is tracking, writing down. There's lots of apps available as well for tracking expenses. But even if you just take a week or 2 weeks to track every penny you're spending, it gives you a really great idea to then look at things like our needs and wants. So after we create that spending savings plan, it gives us an idea of where we're spending money and where we might now start looking at ways we can reduce or cut out or change how we're spending our money. So it's not always about finding more income. A lot of times it's about cutting things that are not needs anymore. Usually when there's a change of income, that's when we start to think about what is really important. So this might give you an opportunity. If you've experienced a loss in income, this might give you a chance to really sit down, have conversations with your family, and look at what are really the needs that we have. What are our priorities in our spending? And where can we maybe make some cuts and changes? So things that we thought we needed, the weekly pizza takeout, the weekly, the streaming services, the 150 channel cable package, are those really needs, right? So taking a minute, taking a long time, really looking at those priorities. Our priorities for our spending should be our housing, our utilities, making sure we have food and water and electricity, making sure that we have food, making sure we have medications if we need them, and also making sure that we are paying on our loans and credit. Because if we lose our car, then we lose our transportation. Or if we lose our house, we lose our transportation. Or whatever the credit or loans that you might have, making those are lower, a little bit lower on the priority, but they are still a priority to look at when we're spending money and we're looking at those needs and our wants. So something else with setting those priorities is that we want to make sure that we have what we enjoy. We don't want to cut everything out and then not have something that we might need, but really taking a hard look. Do you need to have an unlimited data plan on your phone? Do you need to have the newest and greatest phone all the time? Do you need to have the biggest and best TV? So things like that you can start looking at. What are those needs? And maybe they are going to become wants, and we can change some of those and cut some of those expenses. So next week, we're going to look at some additional opportunities and resources. We did not want to overwhelm you today because there is a lot to this. Just sitting down and looking at your income and expenses is a huge task. So be patient with yourself, give yourself some grace. If it's surprising to you or doesn't come out the way you want it to, but make a plan. Sit down and write it out so that you can then have the ability to take the next step. Be patient with yourself. This is not an overnight process. Looking at cutting expenses, looking at changing the way we spend our money can be very difficult to do, especially if you have multiple people who are spending your money. So be patient with yourself, be patient with your family, but continue those conversations with them so that you all can have a plan in place and know what steps you're taking. This again is great to work with your kids if you have younger kids or even older kids. It's helpful to have them see how we make plans and how we plan for the future. And it'll help them develop some of those healthy habits as well. So we want to see what we've provided some of the resources for you in our comments on the our Facebook Live. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the comments, or you can always reach out to Joe or myself after this. We are providing our contact information. Currently, email is the best way to get a hold of us as we are teleworking. We have links and information for our county-specific websites. You will find information on classes and other resources also on those pages. And if you would, we have a very brief evaluation that helps us to determine how our programs run. It helps us to see what changes we might need to make in some of our programming efforts. It is anonymous and completely voluntary, but we would appreciate the feedback. And those of you who are joining us live are welcome to complete that. And also, if you're watching this as a recording, you are also encouraged to complete that. And I do want to throw a shout out to a couple of groups that have helped me come up with some of our topic areas for today's webinar series. And that would be the Different Shades of Pretty and Little Lambs group. So thank you guys. We are all about partnerships with Purdue Extension, and we couldn't be able to do what we do without some of our important partners. So feel free to throw some comments in our comments section or any other questions. Joe and I will stay on for another couple minutes to answer any questions that you might have. But again, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love for you to join us for our Where Does Your Money Go program when we are able to get those going again. And if you're interested, send us an email and we can get you more information. And also, if you want to work with your kids on some of these financial management, reach out to us about our Captain Cash programming. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that this was helpful. And make sure to join us again next week at 10 o'clock Central Time for our next session on navigating some financial resources. We hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day and hope to see you again next week.